you can undertake transactions in QuickBooks from many different areas. So there's many different ways to get to an invoice, to a bill, to any really input form that you might need with QuickBooks. But they're all actually sat together. So if you go to the plus sign at the top here in the top left, click on there. These are all the possible QuickBooks input forms if you're manually entering data into QuickBooks. One thing I will say is that all the possible forms are here, but you don't really need to use them all. So depending on your business, you may invoice, you may receive payment. Other businesses will look to do sales receipts. So just because you've got an input form here doesn't mean that you will use it. And quite often you'll find that there are actually quite limited forms that you are going to use within QuickBooks, depending on, again, on your business, and also depending on how much automation you do, because automation will take you away from these manual entry points. But a lot of people, typically under the customer column in the first line here, first column, a lot of people will do invoicing through here. They may well, if they're manually entering through QuickBooks, receive payment. On the other hand, if they're connecting the bank, the receipt of payment may be transacted from the automation from the bank. Estimates, again, can be used and converted into invoices, and credit notes are the opposite of invoices. So certainly the top four here, or certainly invoicing, receive payment, credit note, are quite commonly used within these systems. Sales receipt is more of an immediate payment. So if you're in a retail environment, you might find sales receipts useful, and a refund of a sales receipt would be a refund receipt here. We've also got possibilities of delayed charges, delayed credits, which don't immediately post transactions into QuickBooks, but again do have their uses. So all of the different transaction types are here, and it's important for you to understand which are the appropriate transaction forms for your business and for what you're looking to do with the automation side of QuickBooks. If we look at the supplier side, similarly, you've got different input forms here. So if you get credit from a supplier, you will be familiar with entering bills, and you'd pay a bill, but again you might not pay all bills because the automation would come into effect on the pay bill side. We've also got expense and check entry forms in here. Again, we can enter immediate payments in that way. For those using purchase orders, we've got purchase orders. Supplier credits are the opposite of the bills, and we've also got a credit card credit. So where you would enter an expense for a payment off the credit card, you've got a separate credit card credit screen there. So these are typical forms that we're going to start using as we enter things into QuickBooks. Under other, you again have useful forms, bank deposits, transfers, journal entries. So these are all entry forms that you'll become familiar with, or you'll become familiar with the ones that are relevant to your particular business or organisation.